This presentation shows simulations generated using PY curves designed to capture episodic loss and recovery of stiffness in disturbed sand. Note: unconventional formulation is followed. Deformation envelopes are used. The first slide shows two identical beams with identical force history applied on the top node. Only initial soil state is different for each beam. Soil state is characterized by position of deformation envelopes. Small distance between envelopes indicates stable sand layer, whereas disturbed sand envelopes are further apart. Observe how stable sand becomes disturbed. A disturbed soil profile emerges quickly. Observe how disturbed sand stabilizes. Stabilization is slow, but converges towards a constant disturbed soil profile as well. Both beams converge towards a similar soil profile. However, the beam with disturbed initial soil state accumulates larger inclination before stabilizing. It is interesting how identical forces provoke different outcomes. Slide 2. This time asymmetric force with a dominant component towards the right side is applied. Observe as disturbed sand stabilizes while accumulating deformation. It is interesting to note, isotropic kinematic hardening rules can be adjusted without compromising stability of the solution if deformation envelope is used. Slide 3. Interesting nonlinear response can be observed if asymmetrically disturbed initial soil state is applied. Observe as the beam's center of mass shifts to the left while a cyclic force is applied on the top node. Slide 4. This time the beam is stabilized, disturbed, restabilized, and redisturbed. Stabilization is accomplished by applying cyclic force within the limits of ultimate bearing capacity. Disturbing is done by applying prescribed displacements, thus pushing the deformation envelopes apart. Notice the shape of disturbed soil profile left behind after overloading the beam. Slide 5. The model used for PY curves is somewhat unconventional as hardening rules are applied to a deformation envelope instead of force or stress envelope. However, Strainspace plasticity formulation for cohesion-less soils is readily available. It was derived in 1980s by Paul Jerome Yoder. Slide 6. Compared to stress-space plasticity, strain-space plasticity has considerable computational benefits. It requires fewer stiffness matrix inversions, and return mapping is done in one iteration. The two advantages are substantial as matrix inversion is computationally costly, whereas iterative return mapping can cause instabilities and errors. Matrix inversion is avoided by using relaxation stress without converting it into equivalent plastic strain increments. Return mapping is more efficient as both deformation envelope and deformation increments are declared in Strainspace. Thus, relocation of the envelope is solved without titter-tattering between stress and strain spaces. Derivation, explanation, implementation and detailed illustration of strain-space plasticity is provided in Paul Jerome Yoder's thesis, published in 1980s. Authors insist, the introduction of deformation envelope is not a shift in paradigm. The deformation envelope merely interpolates stress states within the Coulomb stress limits. Sand stiffness is treated as a nonlinear state function normalized within two envelopes, a deformation envelope and a Coulomb envelope. Thus both a stress and a strain envelope work together. Coulomb envelope sets the limits. Only the stiffness curve connecting the Coulomb limits is normalized by the strain envelope. Final thoughts. A beam simulation is run indefinitely. Random force is applied, and every 100th iteration has a random displacement positioning the tip of the beam towards either +3 or -3 position. Thus, the beam is disturbed and restabilized, randomly, indefinitely. Step size is not controlled, and a wide range of soil states is encountered. This illustrates robustness and stability of the PY model using deformation envelopes. Note the model is still in development. It is a small part of a large thesis, to be finalized in 2018. Most of the findings are pending publication in journals and conferences. Feel free to contact us if you have questions, proposals and/or references we could or should follow. Thank you for watching.